This lesson is just a little bit different. I took a clip from one of the live lessons. We did a series, four-part series on practical fills that work. And so this is part 3 of that, and I wanted to just kind of share it with you guys on here so you can A, have some fills that work, and B, kind of get a feel for how the lessons work on the website as well. So it's almost a full half hour. Hope you enjoy it. I hope they help you. If you want the sheet music that goes with this, follow the link below and you can download the sheet music there. Before we get started though, there's a question of the lesson, and that is, how many toms do you have on your drum kit? Everybody's different. I prefer 2. How many do you have? Put it in the comment section below and let's start a conversation. On to fills that work, part 3. Part trace. All right, let's look at, I named all these just names so you can remember, oh yeah, I could do the sextuplet starter here, or I could do the, the sideways repeater, or I could do Debbie Boone here, whatever you want to do. So I'll be referring to some names of these that I referred to in earlier lessons. Like Debbie Boone falling down the stairs is repeated. So Debbie Boone, we have Pat Boone, Debbie Boone, we covered that in the first one. Pat Boone, Debbie Boone, every studio drummer knows what it is. Pat Boone, Debbie Boone, yeah, I know, cheesy. It has nothing to do with those 2 people, but even the last band leader I was with, he turned around. He turned around and he's like, did you just play Pat Boone, Debbie Boone? I said, yes, I did play Pat Boone, Debbie Boone, and I will play it all night. It's just a great go-to fill. So we have Debbie Boone falling down the stairs. Debbie Boone would be this. If we fell down the stairs with Debbie Boone. So that's just a little, if you haven't caught part 1 and part 2, that's just going to be a little precursor. My eye's going to fall out. Let's look at the first one. The first one I've told you is a fill that I do all the time. If you come to a gig and you hear me play, 99% of the time you're going to hear this fill somewhere in there in some form or fashion. It's just sextuplets, all right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 3. So it's 6 notes to every quarter note. We're going to add some accents. So sextuplets, if our quarter note was here. 1 and 2 and 2, 3, 4. That's going to be our sextuplets. Now, if we take those and we put some accents in them, and you can look back in the most common, I've got a series called The Most Common Sextuplet Accent Patterns, I think it is. You can look back at those lessons. There's like a 4 or 5 part series on that. We just go through different patterns that occur within sextuplet patterns. Now, let's apply that. This is one of them that I covered in that. So we're gonna hit the first, we're gonna accent the first and the third note of the sextuplet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, accent 6. You're doing that with every one of them. String 4 of those together. Now I told you before, don't get set that this is the place that they have to be played. Put them around the drum kit. So take those accents, put them around the drum kit. Have fun with them. They don't have to stay where they are situated, where I wrote them out. I told you in the last lesson, it's awesome if you take these after you learn them and then do some learning on your own. So you take them and you go, okay, I'll take the sextuplet starter and I'll write out 5 different applications of the sextuplet starter and go through that, because you'll hear me play that you'll hear that me play that several times at a gig, but in different ways. So I'm not going to always play it the same way. You can play it with all on the cymbals. That's still the sextuplet starter. So the sextuplet starter is probably the most versatile of the ones I've given you so far. All right, let's move on to pop country fill. The Debbie Boone falling down the stairs, remember her? Snare, tom, floor tom, bada boom. That is really Chris McHugh, I think his name is, played with Keith Urban for a while, big studio drummer. He's big about doing this. That's a fill that you'll see him do. That's how I learned it from him. So this is going to be what I would call a pop country fill, because I could play this in a pop country song and it would make sense. It reminds me of the, and if you didn't see the last lesson, so this one, it's very reminiscent of Debbie Boone tripping down the stairs into a door. That's actually a fill we covered in part 2. So it's the longest name for a fill that you'll ever know, but this is kind of reminiscent of Debbie Boone tripping down the stairs into a door. This is the pop country fill. So it's going to be 16th note based, and the first is going to be on the floor tom. So 1 E and on the snare, on the high tom, 2 E and on the floor tom, 3. So 1 E and 2 E and 3 E, then accent and on 3, and then 4 E and then we're going to have the Debbie Boone falling down, Debbie Boone down the stairs. Are these fill names actually common knowledge? Pat Boone, Debbie Boone is a common knowledge fill. The repeater is a common knowledge fill. That's covered in another one. Bucket of fish. Bucket of fish is a common fill that's referred to. Give me a bucket of fish there. Zibbida-bop is what that's called too. Those are all common names. These I'm just naming so that you can refer to them. So this is the pop country fill. Let me play it very slowly. Now, if you want to add your kick drum in there on quarter notes, that'd be fine too. All right, that's going to be the other pop country fill. Now, if I was to take that and let's say speed it up a little bit. Now, what if we took that and we just put the accent somewhere else? Still the same idea applies there, that we can actually move that around. So don't be scared to move that around. We need a, Mooker says we need a Stephen Taylor telling a joke fill. That would be a fill that falls flat, because so many of my jokes fall. That's all I got, guys. I mean, that's it. That's it. You come for a drum lesson and you get bad jokes. We have the extended double treble. So double treble in the last lesson, we'll go over what that was. That was double treble, okay? Now this is an extended double treble. So extended double treble is just gonna be 1 E and on the snare, kick, kick, and 3 E, kick, kick, 4 E and So a set of 4 on the snare, set of 2 on the kick, set of 4 on the snare, set of 2 on the kick, set of 4 on the snare. All right? And these are meant to, if you're wondering, these are meant to be not simple, they're meant to be intuitive. So they're meant to go, oh, that sounds like it's naturally supposed to be in the song. Not, did he just, you know, you can't be playing a country song and do this. Because it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. You can't put this huge linear fill into there, and it doesn't make sense. It doesn't tie it together. This is the extended double treble. Let me play it very slowly for you. So you see me begin to move that around the drum kit, play different variations and versions of it. That's completely fine to do. I actually want you to do that, okay? So don't just play the extended double treble, make it your own. Write out 5, 10 variations of that. Come up with your own. 1 second. I've said before, I mentioned in the last lesson, I'm not big on, here's the top 5 funk grooves you need to know. Here's the, you know, this is the mambo. I'm into teaching you methods that help you teach yourself later in life. So when we learn the mambo, we don't just learn a mambo groove. That's all fine and good. You need to learn a mambo groove so that you can go do a variety gig. That's why I have the beginner's intro or the intro to world rhythms. It's got like one intro lesson to the bossa, the cha-cha, the mambo, the guabanco, all those different grooves. It has an intro lesson so that if somebody says, hey, can you play a bayon? You go, actually, I can play a bayon. Can you play a samba? Yes, I can play a samba, actually. It's an introduction to those styles. But when I present the lesson, I want you to understand my right hand is doing this because there was this percussion player doing this, and my left hand is doing this because there was a bongo player and a kunga player and there's a timbali player, and I want you to understand how all those parts come together. And then I want you to understand how to break them down and work them against other parts. So I don't want you to just learn a mambo groove. I want you to learn the mambo, why it functions the way it does. And that's really how I approach teaching. But that being said, if you're going into a studio situation, or if you're going into a situation where you're with an artist, you need things like this. Like, I need 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 fills that I can go back on and go, hey, you know what? I can play that and people know where I am. I demonstrate this with several of the songs. If I was at the end of a song, I wouldn't even have to count a band off if I did extended double treble. If I taught the band that fill and I said, every time we come to that song, that's going to be the intro to that, bam, you've taken care of having to coordinate a count off. Hey, is everybody listening? Is everybody watching me? Everybody watching now? Okay, here we go. 1, 2. No, you just forget it and you go ba-da-da-da, 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 and they know when they hear that, whoop, better get ready. All right, they have 4 beats to get ready. So it's a great way to also run a band. Now, we have Bucket of Fish. That is actually a for real lesson. If you look on YouTube, I did a lesson on, I did kind of practical, applicable drum fills. That's one that studio players know, Bucket of Fish. Bucket of Fish. So, this is called 3 buckets of fish and 2 stomps. I know it's real technical. So you're basically going to have 3 buckets of fish in a row. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, How do you play the bucket of fish? We're going to play the first part of a sextuplet. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can also count 8 notes in a sextuplet. So 1 and 2 and. So this is going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Except we're going to take and we're going to apply what? A different version of Debbie Boone falling down the stairs. Bada-ba-doom. And it's going to become bucket of fish. I know. That's what makes this type of stuff fun, though. Because you can go, dude, like do bucket of fish there. You can do, Pat Boone, Debbie Boone. You can do this one. You can do that one. If you play Debbie Boone falling down the stairs backwards, does it sound like Pat Boone running up the stairs? Oh, that deserves this. That deserves that. That was hilarious. 3 buckets of fish and 2 stomps. So let me do that very slow. Really, that's 8 note based. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You can even play just 8 notes on your kick drum to emphasize everything if you wanted to. Now we can take, and we don't have to do the Debbie Boone version falling down the stairs. We can actually keep it here. So you don't have to play my versions. You can play other versions. Now you might be saying, these are getting a little bit more complex. These in this lesson, these fills are more complex than the ones we've done. The first 2, part 1 and part 2, were beginners. This would be a little bit more advanced, but it's not so intermediate that you can't catch it, you know? It's if you hear them enough, because all of these, you can remember this. Ba-da-da-doom, 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 bat-bat. That's something in your head that you can remember. So it's not like it's not all these different patterns. It's ba-da-da-oom, 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 bat-bat. You can remember that. Bucket of fish, bucket of fish, bucket of fish, bump, bump. Bucket of fish, bucket of fish, bucket of fish, stomp, stomp. Bucket of fish, bucket of fish, bucket of fish, stomp, stomp. You can remember those 2 things. So this is a fill. To me, it's not that intermediate. Once you get the basics down, you can remember and go back to it. Let's see here. The annihilator. All right, the annihilator is, this would be on the intermediate, this would be pure intermediate level, but it's fun to work on. Why would I call it intermediate level? It's actually not a fast fill. This isn't one, this would be a more moderate tempo like rock tune, but it's going to be a 5-note phrase. So the 5-note phrase is going to be flam, kick, unison, unison, kick. 1 E and 2, and then start that again. E and 3 E, and then add a flam, kick, then 4 singles. 4 E and the 5-note pattern. That's fun to me, man. That one's a lot of fun. Now, you can take that and move that around the drum kit, make it as fun as you want. If you have any questions, they can be about anything. They don't have to be about this lesson. Shoot those questions in here. Now, after we learn all of them, the same as in every other lesson, what are we going to do? Well, I'm going to immediately, after I learn a fill, I want to take it and what? Let me hear you say it out loud. Apply it, correct? It's no good to learn something. I used to, oh man, for years, God, I stunted my growth so much. I would learn these patterns out of a Gary Shafee book or a Gary Chester book, and I would never apply them. So what good is this awesome linear pattern if you can't even put it into a groove as a fill? What good is it? It's no good. It's zero good. That zero good means no good, because zero means no. I had a math teacher one time in college. He spent 15 minutes explaining why zero was not divisible. 15 minutes, and people were like taking notes. Oh yeah, oh yeah. There's nothing there. That's what he would run across these big auditorium. He'd run to this one side and he would make a big zero, and then he'd run to the other side and he'd make a big squiggly mark and he'd say, "What's the difference?" And people would sit there and they're like, "Do you know what the difference?" I don't know. And I'm like, "Guys, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. There's no difference. Zero is nothing." And so he was hilarious. His name was Professor Putoff. I learned a lot about teaching from him, because he said, if you can't pass my class, you're just stupid. He was like the remedial math class for college. It was true. You had to go there, because if you were bad at math, which I was, I could count to 4 as a drummer. Anything above that gave me trouble. But he was awesome. I learned a lot about teaching from that guy. But after we learned these, that was a complete aside. After we learned these, we want to get back into them. We want to immediately begin to apply them to our playing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play, what we're going to do is I'm going to go a little bit slower because of the last fill, the annihilator. I'm going to go 100 BPM, and I'm going to play each of these fills one time. So I'm going to play 3 bars of time, then 1 bar of the fill. Then I'm moving over to the pop country fill. Then 3 bars of time, 1 bar of pop country. 3 bars of time, 1 bar of the extended double treble. 3 bars of time, then 3 buckets of fish and 2 stomps. 3 bars of time, and then the annihilator, just to kind of show you how I would work through these. Now, if I was practicing them, I would practice each of these like 8 times before I moved on to the next one. But this is how you get good at applying them to your playing. 100 BPM. That one's fun to me. The annihilator is a fun one. So that's going to be part 3 to this. Just kind of incorporating all. That's part 3 of practical fills. We're going to come back to this, or fills that work. And if you want to see another great presentation of fills that work, go to the guest artist section, go to freestyle, and then the guest artist section, and you will be able to see Jim Riley actually talking about fills that work. I stole the title from him. But these are fills, these are not Jim Riley fills, these are just fills that you can stick. So after you've done these lessons, you have 15 fills. If you take Jim Riley's, you have like 22, 23, 24, 25, something like that, fills that you can put into your playing and immediately go, oh, I got this gig, oh, I can do this one, I can do this one, I can do this one. So you have these fills that you can draw from, and that will help you when it comes to your practice time as well as to gig time. So awesome.